Cloudcox, what's up? It's about time you come over here up the Pulse. What's up? When are you gonna mint your Cox over
Coach.
here?
What's up, Coach? Yes, I am a recent converted Hexkin, and then now I guess I'm a Pulsekin. I learned about the first and foremost. I have talked a lot of shit about Pulse, Hex, and Richard, and I've converted. I've converted a little bit. It's dope, dude. This ecosystem's kind of dope. All right, you got your Hex, you got your little bind burns on the Pulsex, you got your cool colors. It's kind of like you got an American figure that's got an load of money. Like I was just kind of snooping around because I've just been curious about Pulse by curious and just pondering about where's this whose 600 million die is this, the P die, the Atropa, the Mega. I gotta ease into all that. I'm still grasping. This is a zoo. It's like crypto kind of reborn. This little pocket, I was kind of naive to it, but the community is very strong in a bear market. You really just can't deny that. You've got this like just out of a movie character who's like, what? Okay, the case against Richard is really weak, right? Once they're paid off or he beats it, it's like such a catalyst. It's just kind of lining up, you know what I'm saying? But I think everything, it's like you try to keep your morals and stuff, but then it's like, dude, at the end of the day, it's so true. Green dildos, bro. That's what brought me over. I mean, I was like looking around. I was like, what the fuck are these idiots doing over here?
Hasn't
And I'm
retard
just
sold their
seeing like,
money enough yet?
yeah, I'm just seeing these ridiculous numbers just flying all over the place. Yeah, dude, I made 10 grand a day off $200. What the dude?
Yep.
You
Go
know?
to the polls.
And so it is kind of a dope little. It's a dope chain, bro. It's a dope community. It's a dope. It's a lot cooler than I thought. But yeah,
That's funny that you said that, bro. I put $100 in teddy bear. I looked at it a couple months later. That shit was $7,500. Mind you, that was in a burner wallet. I forgot that it was there, bro.
it's a zoo. But yeah, I'm still learning the ropes. I mean, I've got my hex stuff going. I'm looking at HSI chart thingies and figuring all this out and doing ladders and figuring out different strats for that. And then I was just looking at this bind burn. So there's the Dex also burn PLS and Pulse X, the Pulse X token.
Yeah, so there's the out of the fees, there's PLS that's used to buy and burn Pulsex, right? And then Pulse itself is deflationary. I believe that a certain amount of every transaction gets burned as well.
Oh, just on the
Yeah.
gas, right? Is that what that is for Pulse?
Yep. And
Okay.
I don't know if you've looked into the validators, how many validators we have, but yeah, chains don't have that amount of validators or miners or whatever in the first 6 months. So it's really nuts, man. I'm glad to have you here. I've been seeing you floating around. Is really interesting when you said that you got into Hex first and now you're a Pulse again, because I've been predicting that it's going to go the opposite way, right? People are going to find out about Pulse and then learn about Hex. So yeah, you're really unique in that perspective, and yeah, it's great to have you here, bud.
Yeah, I was always looking for my Hex entry, because I've been around since 2016. I watched Richard Howard, long hair, all that shit. Just didn't pay any attention to him. Hex was coming out. I remember all that. And then I watched it go from like 5 million market cap, 20, 100, 300. And I was just like, what the fuck is happening with this? And then, it's a bull market. I'm like, I'm just not even going to bother. And it just kept going up. And so now that it's actually probably near the true bottom, I'm kind of like, all right, what's going on here?
So I came over as mostly an Ethereum guy to Pulsechain for the first time for Mega and to work with the team on that. And I really enjoyed the space, and it's odd. I got to meet new people, and I'm like a whole nother corner of Twitter that I didn't even know existed. And I'm learning a lot more about Pulse now, and so I am also learning that telling people to come over, they just won't do it. Like it is incredibly hard to get guys to do it. We've gotten a lot of guys to do it, but to get everyone to come and do it, I would think that the most important thing that you could do from a marketing standpoint to bring people over here. I mean, you have some of the best things going on, right? Your deployer fees are low, your gas fees are low. It's relatively easy. I think that you would need to see something in more of an ease of transaction with the bridging, and it would have to look more like you would have to kind of build an ecosystem a little bit differently, right? Because when I look at Pulse Chain and if I compare it to Ethereum, it's lacking infrastructure. It's lacking some of the infrastructure that people are going to be more enticed to use as their playground.
But like literally, like that's all it takes, right? Like send a DM, let them know what's going on. Get into their spaces, talk about it, and just like talk about it in a friendly manner, right? Like I think that's kind of like the one issue I've had since I joined the Pulsechain community, is that everybody is so defensive, like it's our way or no way, right? But it's like if you go into a conversation with that mentality, you're never gonna be able to kind of like win over the other person. So going into the conversation, with an open mindset, not defensive, and just like, hey, this is something else that's an option that's available for you. There's free money over here. Like there's so many different things you can pitch to them. But until they finally bridge over, they're not going to realize like, wow, this is amazing. Like this is actually the best blockchain. But I've been having fun since I started on this mega journey. And I think one of the big things it takes in terms of onboarding and like marketing as well is that you need to make sure that you're active with your community. Setting a time for your community to be able to speak to you, be able to hear from you. So whenever you're doing spaces, things like this, like that's a big way of onboarding, because you never know who's going to drop into any one of these spaces. You have like 200-300 people, like cruising through these spaces every now and then. So they might hear something that you say that you like. Sorry, they might hear something you say that they like, and then that can onboard them, and even through that sense. Yeah, I think I kind of rambled a little bit, but I'll just stop there.
Appreciate it. What do you think about the marketing and kind of like the onboarding? And is it just going to be green candles when hex?
100%.
But
Nothing
that,
else brings the people, bro. Nothing else brings the people. It's solely green candles. Look how many people came to Pulsechain when the whole P-Dye shit started and popped off and was going nuts. That's what I'm talking about. That is what always is going to bring the people. Most people in this space nowadays they're not investors. They're gamblers. So they don't understand the tech. They don't care about anything, the technicals. They don't care about none of that shit, bro. All they care is about green dildos for their faces, bro. That's all they care about. So the more we have these things, the more the ETH bros are gonna come over, and the BNB bros and the art bros and the base bros. Everybody's gonna come over. All it takes is for these assets to keep pumping, and that's what's gonna happen.
it's going to bring over the masses, the pulse chain.
I mean, look, what I'm just gonna call him Goo because that's the first three letters of his name. What Goo said is it's big green candles, and but you want to make sure that it's real crypto being adopted, right? So yeah, it's definitely big green candles. It's making sure that benevolent teams are building stuff for people to enjoy. If you don't like NFTs, you don't have to have NFTs, but I want NFTs here, right? If you don't like reflection tokens, I don't care. I want them here, right? I want the Tang Gang here, right? It's the community as a whole and the sub communities that are driving the adoptions, and seeing those communities succeed and grow is what's going to it. That is the adoption, right? Because up until probably 3 months ago, let's say, it's still like this, but it's less because there's new people. But it's been us just basically recycling money between one another, up until a couple of months ago. So whatever the narrative is, if it's there, like I guess politically is the term I'm going to use, then it's why not, right?
That's definitely true. So I mean, yeah, by him saying, he has, plans to have a stable coin, of his own, maybe that's what he could be he could be talking about that, or at least even not just PDI, right? PUSDC, PUSDT. I mean, they all have to kind of peg together, whether or not USDC wants to validate those tokens or not. It's up to them. But as long as we get those to peg together, obviously, it's all the plan is going to work.
That's honestly probably the biggest question still in my mind, like that I've been asking since late July is, what about USDC? Like, because I at that since then they have maintained basic correlation. They haven't stayed the same, but for the most part, USDC, PUSDC is tracking with P diet. Like it is a peg in my mind, and we know that P diet is basically Richard's favorite, and he has talked about USDC. Like he is giving us he has given kind of an affirmation that he thinks USDC will be safe because he doesn't think they'll want to face the lawsuits. So that's pretty open ended still in my mind. But the fact that they continue to track each other gives me the peg, and that's why I go back to that ratio standpoint, you know, Pulse to ETH, PDI to DAI. So I think as Pulse increases in price, probably as soon as we get off, I'm going to go and look at that ratio. I think as Pulse increases in market cap, and I think once the bull comes, it's going to happen really quick. So I guess we started at 10,000 to 1. I guess we're definitely under that by a fair amount. So in my mind, bringing it up to $1 is not far fetched at all. Once the actual liquidity comes back, pegging it there though, you know, at $1, like, still remains to be seen. I think once like the 414 has said, you know, like, basically in my mind, the 414 is just like in a holding pattern, just waiting. They helped get us kicked off, and brought a bunch of liquidity in, got a bunch of eyes here, and now we're just, you know, waiting for the next stage.
Yeah, it seems like things are definitely in development. From when I'm watching like the Atropa log, you know, the IRC logs, and you know, trying to decipher like what's going on in there, and it definitely seems like there's different phases to, you know, whatever plan they have. You know, certain stages. I know they've made reference to, you know, certain price points that they see things at certain times. I think they said they made mention of maybe hoping that Atropa was at 3 cents by the end of the year or something like that. So I think that there's certain milestones that they're looking to achieve to make sure that everything is like running or operating properly. But I do know that Maria was saying at 3 cents that she's going to be putting out like marketing stuff. Like we'll get marketing materials and things like that, you know, to bring the adoption.
Yeah, it makes total sense in my mind. Like, the 414 stuff is basically, you know, in a range, consistent with where the market's at, in my opinion. So, and the early, you know, July, August, we saw a decent run up, some decent movement in Pulse, even considering the SEC drop, and that run up was massive. It was kind of like the eye opener, like, hey, you know, I'm gonna do stuff. Get your eyes here, you know. And now that more eyes are looking, more liquidity has come in. You know, she's they are kind of shaking out weak hands, and which, you know, goes in my mind totally parallel with Richard's vision. He doesn't want the weak hands involved. He want, you know, that was the point to Hex and the time locking feature, to get people on board that were serious, you know, and long term, and understood what was going on, and especially the greater context of like what DeFi really means, you know, the freedom aspect, and he accentuated that with the two sacrifices, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of movement. So we're just in a perfect accumulation point, you know. This is the time where we're getting great opportunities. We've already seen, you know, the potential, and now we're being given this opportunity to get on board, you know, to get our seat on the bus.
You're definitely right there, man. I'm not like concerned at all. Like I barely even check the charts anymore, honestly, because I'm just like kind of sick of that. You know, I know that just like when I look back, you know, in the future, when I'm like, you know, ready to sell some, you know, because right now I'm like, I'm not even thinking to sell any. Like, it doesn't matter what the price goes to for any of the things that I'm holding. Like, selling is not even a thing that I'm really thinking about. Just because like the money that I put in originally is just more long term focused, I guess.
I'm super excited.
Supreme Court, you know, is the, you know, judge and jury and executioner, and if they say that the SEC is overstepping their bounds, then they lose a significant amount of power. So it's sort of like, imagine like you have your house and the SEC is basically putting like the stakes in the ground that they have 100 feet in front of their house. That's their property when it's not. But if the SEC ends up giving them, it's more of a thing where like, okay, well, they'll give up 50 feet by giving these ETFs, you know, the go ahead. But if the Supreme Court says, hey, you're going to do this and this and this, they'll put more restrictions on them, and they'll end up having that fence at the 15-foot mark instead of the 50-foot mark. And that's
let me ask you something, Miguel.
Sure.
Dragons and dogs are enemy signs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think happens in 2024, a dragon year, when the SEC is a dog.
Oh, they're gonna get decapitated. That's what's gonna happen. That guy Gary Gensler is one of the most evil pieces of shit ever. He really is a real asshole, man. I mean, we have one video. I mean, I'll put on Twitter right now. I'll put a video of him literally saying that like 75% of all cryptos are not securities. None of these things are ICOs. Like these things are all should be traded fun and freely, and they're fine.